Good morning, United Kingdom, and good morning, Lakhi Singh. How are you,
Good
sir?
morning.
This
How are you
morning?
doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Making moves. Always on the move. Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. Welcome, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. As usual, every morning we have the live drive time session. We have obviously good. We've got actually a special announcement this morning. We have the 1,000th member, and the gentleman's name is what's his name? Okay, we'll find out his name. We'll have his name up in lights for this whole week, and obviously a special gift going out to the gentleman James. That's right, James Davey, 1,000th member, and we will have a special gift of £50 going to the gentleman. Obviously, we'll need for him to make contact so that we can send him the money over into the account. The reason we've gone for a £50 gift for every 1,000th member is because we have the uncertainty of COVID. So if we did ask Lakhi what would be the best thing, and Lakhi Singh obviously saying being the fixer and sorted the problem out for us and told us, look, problem's going to be it's not whether the 1,000th fixer or member of the alternative business and property solutions community is going to be good looking or not. It's more to do with the 6-foot rule. So keeping 6 foot and having dinner with somebody is a bit difficult. So he decided to give them £50. Thank you so much, Lakhi Singh, for the generous gift. I should have tried to become the 1,000th myself, but I forgot to mix the trick. I missed the train. Lakhi Singh, what's the weather like there this morning in cloudy UK?
Well, it's frozen over for the first time this morning. So I'm just sitting in the car, but the car's sort of frozen over. So when it unfreezes over, then I'll be moving along a tiny bit.
You'll be moving. Okay, you'll be making moves in your car, like you make moves, but obviously your ability to make moves is much more versatile. A man who is a Uber and a shover and a Uber and a mover and a groover of the square mile, a shaker maker and a mover and a shaker of the square mile, the man, Lakhi Singh. Yes. So Lakhi Singh, today's important question and the week's underlying question. Obviously, the week's is a hustler never sleeps. He just takes naps. A bit like you, Lakhi Singh, making moves all the time, taking little power naps, but never sleeping, just in case you missed that trick. So, Lakhi Singh, and the topic for today is, will the outcome of the US elections affect the UK economy? Will they affect the UK, Europe, and the world? So what say you to that, sir? Will the US elections and the outcome of the US elections be affecting the economy in the United Kingdom and the world, or will it be business as usual?
Well, there's an old saying, which actually I'm not sure what people recall. When America sneezes, England normally catches a cold. So
England, so not the rest of the world, so just England.
Well, I think when you're looking at it from an England-centric point of view, I'm just saying that's the term used in England.
Okay.
And the other thing is that this time, I think if America sneezes, I think it's not. I think it's going to be more than a cold. Let's just say that it's more like a cancer, because that's how dangerous it's going to be for the economy.
All right. Okay. So why do you say that, sir? And who do you think is going to win? Because it's like a tight race, they're saying this time. It's not a landslide victory. So are your predictions right? Your gut feelings, and as we spoke about, your gut, where all of your
neck and neck at the moment, so it's 50-50 either way.
50-50 either way.
Either 50-50 could go either way. So I'm pretty certain that Trump will sort of win it, to be honest.
We've got 215 versus 238. That's the latest stats that we've got. What about your side? What have you got?
Yeah, I think it was something similar. I only checked it about 10 minutes ago.
What did it say 10 minutes ago?
I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was neck to neck. Whoever gets to 270 first is whoever gets to 270 is the winner, apparently.
Well, that's the golden number out of all the various, what's it now? I think they're known as suburbs or counts. I think they're called counties? They're the counties, that's right. So, yeah, out of the various different election units, 270 is the golden number. And you're saying neck on neck. So is that the different to neck to neck?
It's neck to neck, but it's a bit too early in the morning to say neck to neck. Neck on neck sounds better for a morning drive time. Means that all the words are sort of a bit Ronnied up, like the two Ronnies.
Ah, right, okay. So you're Ronnied up.
Would you like 4 candles?
4 candles?
Yeah.
Or would I like a coffee? Because I think I'd rather have a coffee early morning rather than. So I think I'd suggest you go for a coffee, and the candles.
Like 4 candles, or would you like 4 candles?
I would rather have both, because if I've got 4 candles, I can plug my ears in to your crony jokes. And if I've got 4 candles, then I'm a bit like a bike. I don't have 4 candles, but anyhow, I don't have handles. I've got arms.
I wasn't expecting a response because the joke was that corny.
Yeah.
So for you to respond back is actually not very funny at all. Nobody's going to find that funny, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, that makes sense. But anyhow, they've got some issue with Pennsylvania, I think. Count Dracula issue, or either counting of the votes issue. But I think that's Transylvania. But yeah, Pennsylvania is probably a hitching point. I think they've got some matter there. But I think it was already announced before the elections that Donald Trump was going to go in with a very aggressive stance in issuing his right as the president to appoint governors that would rule the various states in case of a doubt of the outcome, some tricky law like that. So in effect, it's like having a martial law declared on a state because you don't accept the outcome of the results. That's literally, I think Pennsylvania has an issue. So they're stuck at Pennsylvania for some reason. So it's 215, 238, stuck at Pennsylvania. I'm waiting for the outcome, or they're going to obviously appeal or something. Not sure which way around it is. But it is a Donald Trump state, apparently. You won it last time. So, your question, you said it's going to be worse than that. I don't want to use the word cancer, but I'm going to say it's going to be a serious nosebleed or something, or more, it's going to be catching a serious cold, is what I think would be the right way of putting terminology on that. And if America sneezes, UK will certainly have a cold. But in this metaphor, if we use that as a statement, I mean, if it's Donald Trump, surely we're already used to being in his nostrils anyway for 4 years.
Yeah, I think, well, the question is that there's a lot of things he probably hasn't unleashed on the world economy because it needed to just win this next election to have continuity. So
Yeah.
I think he's tried to just stay in the middle somewhere just to keep his place as a leader. But I think as soon as he gets voted in, then I think he's going to let it rip anyway. I think he's going to have to make some very tough decisions because the whole American economy is in trillions of dollars of debt. So he's going to need a solution.
Is that Donald Trump you're talking about?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, but my question is, we're already used to him. So surely there can't be an element of, we've been in his nostrils for 4 years. We know where all the mucus is. We know where all those dried, hardened bogies are. We know where his nose hairs are. What's the difference? Surely wouldn't it be difficult for us if we've got a new gentleman, a new kid on the block, 73-year-old kid, Joe Biden comes along. He's going to be new for the world to try and determine what and how he thinks. Isn't that a bit more dangerous, or is Donald Trump a bit more likely to, like you said, let it rip for the second term? Because after you obviously he's got nothing left after that. So if he's going to take any major radical changes, he can do so now. Is that correct?
Well, the thing is that whoever takes over, let's say, they won't have many choices anyway. Donald Trump is the one that if he does do anything that happens, he's more likely to sort of get away with it because of his persona. And I think even if Biden gets in, I don't think he's going to have much of a choice. He's going to have to make very similar decisions, which is there's a global economic, geopolitical, as well as economic sort of downturn, but quite an extreme one. And
yeah, but will it make a difference then? Does it make a difference, Lakhi, if we've already been sitting in the nostrils of Donald Trump? Yeah. Why would we catch a cold now? Shout out to John Smith, Sonia, to Amar, to Mandy as well.
Mandy,
Prakash, and Kay.
Prakash.
A new, I think,
Kay,
new
how you
listener.
doing?
Yeah. Shout out to all of you. Just to let you know, we'll be sending out, excuse me, sending out the link and the code to dial in and ask a question, because we do encourage questions once our internet isn't down. It's up and down, right? Once the internet is still working, we do encourage our listeners to dial in and ask their questions directly. So is Lakhisingh there?
I'm here, yeah.
Right, excellent. I think we had a flash out and flash interview. Okay, so so we're in Donald Trump's nostrils, and you're saying he's going to let it rip. You mean like he's going to blow his nose and we're going to fly out with all the mucus?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
So what would you regard yourself then if you were flying out of Donald Trump's nose? Are you one of his white hairs, or are you probably more that greeny mucus, or are you more the early stages, or are you more hardened? What are you?
I'm not going to continue this analogy. It doesn't make any sense. So
I
let's
mean,
change the analogy. Yeah.
the analogy was that America sneezes and the world catches a cold.
And it's not even very funny. I think.
No, I'm just trying to
I think you're getting
metaphorically
up. I
work
think
out.
you're getting. I think you're getting up people's noses. Let's just keep it simpler than that.
Yeah, so I'm trying to metaphorically work out where you place yourself in that scenario, especially if you mention that America is going to catch a cold. But is America going to catch a cold? That's the first question then. Isn't the American economy on its way up? Because I heard 2 or 3 days ago that Donald Trump is talking about an excellent recovery to the economy, and unemployment is down. Rather, he says employment is up. So is America going to sneeze?
Hold on 1 second. I think somebody wants to move the car here.
Somebody wants you to get the car fixed. Excellent.
Somebody's funding off a construction site, and they want
park
to.
On someone's. So you're parking in front of a
construction site, and they want to get to the construction site. So I'm just going to move.
So you driving
a
truck? Okay, so you actually been very considerate about moving your vehicle. That's
right.
Lakhi Singh fixing the entries for construction companies. We can take that as a metaphor for anybody out there in construction looking to be fixed. Lakhi Singh has allowed the entry to a construction company, but he blocked it in the first instance anyway, so that doesn't sound very.
It's not a problem that I can't fix.
Solution oriented. It seems like you create the problem to fix the problem, which is probably natural of Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, not really good for the general business community. Okay, so we're going to move on. You don't like the metaphor, America sneezes and the rest of the world catches a cold. So what does America do then? What does happen? Okay, let's take the scenario. Donald Trump continues. What do you think he's going to do that's going to make the environment more difficult? What's particular?
Let's keep it to brass tacks, because a lot of people not really going to realize. People on a day-to-day basis, they're all they're worried about is lockdown now. Everybody's had about 10 people come up to me yesterday, said, "Oh, a lockdown happening tomorrow, the day after. What are you guys going to do?" So a lot of people aren't even thinking about what's happening in the elections. They're just literally thinking how they're going to protect their families, how they're going to, get to work. How do they manage their work? That sort of situation is going on.
Empathy.
So if you start looking at the overspill of a recession or a depression, a lot of it's already far-reaching and it's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I read a stat this morning, I think literally at 6:30 this morning,
mm-hmm.
which said that 50% of any lending that's going on at the moment is being valued down by the lenders.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
There's going to be a crash.
So there's going to be a crash.
How much are they valuing down by?
Well, they're saying they haven't shown how much they're valuing down by as a stat. They've just written down how much they're going to be, whatever the whatever the percentage is that's actually getting marked down, but they haven't given the values that have come down anyway. Yeah.
What's the percentage then, Lakhi?
50% of the properties that are being surveyed are being valued down.
50%. Obviously, that's a bit higher of a figure than was predicted by the Chancellor of the Exchequer before Brexit. So obviously, Brexit is like, it's actually like sand in a sandstorm, isn't it? A grain of sand, because Brexit comes or go, doesn't mean anything. The fact is, it was an excellent and a clever move now, if you look at it that way, by the UK government in getting out of Europe, because if the write-down is going to be 50%, can you imagine what it would have been had we also had to undergo Brexit?
No. They're saying the write-down is 50%. What they're saying is that 50% of properties that are being surveyed are being valued down.
All right, but they're not giving the percentage.
No, they're not. So,
okay.
But I can tell you what that is, because I'm actually getting properties valued for certain clients myself. And
so what is that?
So for bridging terms, a lot of bridging lenders would normally lend on something called a 180-day val, or a open market value, which is the actual market value put up by estate agents. But a lot of surveyors, for bridging purposes, are now valuing at a 90-day val, which is, if anybody's not familiar with the terminology, I'll explain it in 2 or 3 different ways. They are valuing properties at a forced sale value, which is the old terminology for it, but it's now called a 90-day val. That means that if they had to sell it quickly through an estate agent, what's the price they would put it up to get a quick sale and off their books as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that equates to typically something like can be up to 20 to 30% below the market valuation, which you might see on Rightmove.
Yeah.
So I'm not really that worried about what's happening in the American elections, because whatever the overspills are, the banks aren't stupid. They already know what's going to happen. They're already quite clear about the sort of international dimension to what they do. So they're already covering their backs by deploying tactics which are about a year or 2 years before a major correction in the market.
So you're saying that indicates that the market is not going to crash for another 2 years?
No, I'm saying they're already put into force their own mechanisms, their own contingency and provisions to ensure that whenever it does, they're already doing a, rolling out a formula based upon a crash anyway. When the crash happens, is insignificant to them. It can happen tomorrow, or it can happen 2 years from now. What I'm saying is they've already put in places a mechanism to cover their backside, so cover their assets, so to speak. Yeah, cover their assets, so to speak. Assets to speak, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a family show, Mr. Singh. Keep it clean. Don't have slips of tongues.
I didn't mean it could mean donkeys, asses.
They don't own any asses, I don't think.
Well.
Anyhow, a good morning to
said about that.
Big shout out to Mr. Burhan New, who's making moves. Obviously, a prodigy of Lakhi Singh, the property fixer in the commercial department in MCFU, he knows how, and he's saying he knows how to scratch deep. What that means, I have no clue. But obviously, Lakhi Singh one day will put us wiser as to knowing how to scratch deep and what that means. Anyhow, so you're saying the banks are already planning for the fallout. Perfectly fine. They know the market's going to get worse. Perfectly fine. People aren't really worried about the elections. I would say I agree. What is it now? Because I think the situation is this second wave of the virus isn't going to leave many options to the government to start issuing, blanket checks like BBLs and Sybils and all that, because that's just like giving everybody free money now. So what's going to happen, Lakhi? What's going to happen on that side then? And as I see it, going to be
speaking to an accountant yesterday, and he was saying that a couple of things. Sitting in Mayfair, you always get to hear what's going on.
And crowds, anything to do with people and crowds, restaurants, hotels, they are going to be affected the worst. So what's going to happen then? Yes, what were you saying? Your accountant said what?
Accountant said that they'll be launching another version of the bounce back loan, which will be a lot more stringent. And also anybody that's got a leased premises, they're going to extend the grants that were given by the council for the rates, because a lot of people were given a handout of £10,000 if they had rates with the local council.
Okay, right.
Business rates. So there's those things. So there'll be a lot more different types of loans that will come out, which will be probably a lot more stringent and a bit more tailored to people's situations, I think.
Okay, talking of stringent and tailoring, we have Mohsen Ravjani this morning giving a big shout out to Lakhi Singh, the property fixer. Obviously, he's got some news for us regarding the election. I bet he's got his keen eyes on the numbers and the stats. Probably 6 states, I think, are still waiting. Excuse me, 6 states are still waiting for results. So
right, hold on, somebody's going to fix the problem here. Somebody needs this now. Have that. Take a second. But we're going to
somebody needs what?
Somebody can't get their window cleaned with the ISA, so I'm just giving them my ISA cleaner thing, because my one's
Give
really
them
good.
your credit card, Lakhi Singh. Your credit card, probably more. It's always locked anyway. It can't be used. Probably the right thing to do. Anyhow, Lakhi Singh. So you're giving them your scraper to clean their car. Lakhi Singh, as usual, Steve Dunn level.
That's not a problem.
Charming the first thing in the morning, even though it's freezing, he still manages to keep the tap of charm warm on his gauge. Excellent, Mr. Singh. You're the angel of fixing, as I would say. Anyhow, Mohsen apparently has said he is the person behind keeping confusion on the 6 states, because he's told Donald Trump that he is going to declare that the election results have been rigged. That's the news that's coming out from Mr. Trump. And obviously it was pre-planned. Like I said, he'd already made provisions to appoint governors of these states in an emergency, or in obviously under the powers that he is permitted as the president of the United States. And I think these will remain under supervision until the counting of the votes and any discrepancies are cleared. So, happy days for Mr. Biden then. What do you think is going to happen if Mr. Biden comes in? You've not told us what happens if Donald Trump comes in. You've just told us it's about him sneezing and you coming out as a great big green bogey. It's perfectly fine. My question is not what Lakhi Singh comes out as, but what will the general economy be in light of Donald Trump taking a second term in office?
Well, again, just going back to brass tacks, interest rates will go up in the UK. Lending is going to come quite difficult, which it already is, because indirectly the banks are already lending a lot more below, because they've cleverly valuing the properties down, from what the market price is to
Mm-hmm.
cover their security with less debt and
Mm-hmm.
more equity from the client,
Mm-hmm.
bigger deposits basically. Thirdly, there's going to be some sort of when the interest rates go up, everybody should now really be, again, message I give nearly every day actually, is that they should be considering putting themselves on a fixed rate. On top of that, if you are looking to buy assets now, because everything is looking very unpredictable, a deal is not a deal in the traditional sense. So don't use a formula that you had a year ago and think it's the same formula now in a very turbulent and unpredictable market, because you may not get the money, you may not get the planning,
Mm-hmm.
you may not be able to get the yield you want because of COVID-19. You may not get the rentals you need. So you've got to be super extra diligent when you're doing your numbers on your investment strategy for any business or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was saying yesterday is that it's better to get into businesses that require very little capital and there's phenomenal returns and just require time input, because a lot of people are going to have a lot of time in their hands if they're in lockdown at home. So if you can get involved in some social media or web technology or fintech or things which are going to be growth sectors regardless of an economic slowdown,
Like
are the
what? Give
ones
us
to
an
get into.
example, Lakhi. Give an example for the listeners. What sectors are still going to be growing or at least useful for investment purposes, even if there
So
is another lockdown?
So waste to energy projects are pretty big. Agri-tech, so improving agriculture with technology. Prop tech is going to be absolutely massive. Obviously, I'm involved in that, so I wouldn't be getting involved in prop
Does
tech
that
if
mean,
it
like you're
was.
saying, you're involved in prop tech? That sounds like you're making moves in something which is very clever. What is that, Lakhi Singh?
So basically, anything like fintech, prop tech, agri-tech, clean tech, all these are terms for industries were traditionally being done in a very, let's just say, in a traditional way. And tech is basically you're streamlining all the processes. You're putting in new components to simplify processes, improve them, have a better approach to the market. It's basically integrating lots of different things and creating a streamlined process that is super quick and efficient.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you've also got lots of other sectors as well, by the way, that are new. So AI, blockchain, and also something called self-automated cars is really big. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, but I think people may have to get out of their comfort zone and get into psychology of learning new tricks and learning a new trade, because they can't rely upon things that were their day-to-day job. And if, for example, the hospitality industry, especially hotels, restaurants, all these sort of places are struggling now. So you have to almost reinvent yourself to
Okay, so give us
reinvent.
an example of how you're going to help someone who's in the food and beverage industry to become tech friendly. Are they going to give sort of like hand out virtual food over the internet that's going to be faxed through, and they're going to pretend like they can eat it? It's going to be in tablets that you put into a jug, and then chicken wings come out to eat, or how does that
Well,
work?
well, you probably noticed, I'm not sure whether you've driven through Milton Keynes recently, but you basically, you can actually order your food and then you have a automated fridge with the food in, and actually the food literally is drives itself and actually arrives at your doorstep. You just have to, it tells you when it's outside, you just pick it up, and then it goes back home again on its own. So
An automated what?
So automated, like a little bit like a wheelie bin with food inside it. So when you order things, the food just
So
literally
they're
arrives at your
sticking
door.
the food into a bin, a normal recycling bin, and they're giving you food in a.
It's not a bin. It looks like a bin,
Yeah.
but it's a small, more like an R2D2, which actually literally, you'll see them actually going up and down streets. They are automated delivery boxes that you can order food from, and you can get your groceries.
What is somebody who's hungry wishes to open up this robot and take all the belongings, the foods, and eat all the morsels and leave an empty box in there for delivery? What happens then?
I think it's locked, so you can only unlocks itself when it arrives at the right address. So you can't necessarily break into it. So it's got a lot of gadgetry. I think there's another invention where the food also gets delivered by drone in certain cities as well.
Okay. So what does the drone do? Does the drone pick it up and drop it off?
That's right.
Excellent.
So that's also being trialed in various cities around the world. So there's a lot of high-tech solutions to everyday problems. So one clever thing you could be doing is looking at some of these tech solutions and seeing really how you could buy them and then roll them out to certain audiences, certain markets where they're not known about. So there's a lot of exciting technology out there in a lot of the tech industries, which could be used across other sectors. So I'm not an expert in that area, but I am actually very knowledgeable about the property sector. So going back to prop tech is streamlining the processes in property to help sellers and buyers to make it easier for them to sell or buy a property by streamlining the processes. So that's probably one of the most exciting sectors, but I'm a bit biased.
Okay, so when you mean excitement, is it something like watching Formula One sitting inside the actual vehicle itself, that type of excitement? Or is it more excitement like when you were a child and you were given a present because you were a child? What type of excitement is that, Lakhi Singh?
I think it's a bit like sitting in a Formula One, because you are going to be having an experience of something completely different. So rather than being a very slow, sluggish market trying to sell your property, wouldn't you rather talk to Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, with some of his solutions, where we can basically sell your property for a 0% commission. We can find your ideal property very quickly because we're using a TripAdvisor type of approach. So you can almost find the property very quickly, so you don't have to do so much research. I spent a year researching my first sort of residential property to live in, actually, in Harrow and Pinner. But all of that can be saved if you've got a lot better criteria on your website explaining, the location.
How does that work, Lakhi Singh? How does that work? How is it you are doing that research for people, and how are they going to find it? What does that mean?
So what that means is a lot of people, at the moment, they're limited because they're looking at a location and looking at what's around first the location. But what I'm developing is a tool that allows you to look at why you want the property in the first place, and then it finds the properties for you, and then the location that way around. So it's a bit like TripAdvisor. You get a rating based upon, can you add value to the property? Is it near good amenities, near good schools, near hospitals?
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually solving a problem type website. So solving the why. So are you looking for investment property to purchase? Are you looking for something that's with a yield, with value add to develop, to refurbish? Are you looking simply just to buy near the best school, and in two particular cities because you're looking to relocate now because the cost of living is lower? So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more fun and easy to use. So can you imagine? TripAdvisor wasn't around 20 years ago, I don't think. But TripAdvisor is now on everybody's tongues. So we're going to be the TripAdvisor of the property world.
So will you be going on a trip when you're buying the property with LPA properties?
So we should probably end up calling it Property Advisor, because it'll give you the advice about which best property to buy. But it'll give you all the indicators. Yeah.
Excellent. That sounds very techy, Lakhi Singh. Okay, so we've got the fact that with Donald Trump, at times are going to be difficult. Obviously, you've not been able to explain which bit of his nostril you belong to. But let's suppose we go over to Joe Biden. What happens if Joe Biden comes along? New person, a bit more sensitive to the communities, a bit more friendly, a gentleman who understands Black Lives Matter, a gentleman who is about trying to unify America. So what happens if he comes along? Will America still sneeze? Will you still come out like a hardened green bogey? Or will it be different? Will you be a bit more drizzle?
I think, to be honest, the problems of America are still going to be the same. And I think either way is still going to have to make some of those tough decisions. I don't think they're going to have to be able to get away from their debt mountain. So if it's not going to be one, then it'll be the other. So I can't see anything changing in terms of, I think England will still get a nosebleed, like you said. I think that's probably the better analogy rather than bogeys flying everywhere.
No, you said sneeze, so obviously I'm keeping to the metaphor so people can understand.
I think maybe extrapolation is not something you should be doing as a day job.
Metaphor. That's what I was trying to do.
I think
metaphor.
Extrapolation is something that you should leave to the experts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so now we've got. There is a yes. Okay, question now from Sonia. We've got a dialing. Excellent. Sonia's dialing in. She's got a question. Sonia. Gone off. I think she's gone off and she's going to come back. Is she trying again? Okay. Right. Okay. As soon as she tries again, we'll log her in. She's going to come and ask a question. Right, Lakhi Singh. So, there is one school of thought. They say it doesn't make a difference who comes and goes. The administration, the real admin or the administration are the people who run America. And the administration being, the Pentagon, the forces in the Oval Office, or the people at various think tanks who deliver policies and strategies. And it's not really the president who comes along and changes anything. It's merely a tweak or a statement that could vary that. But in general terms, most of the strategies that the US implement are already governed or predetermined by their various strategists, obviously Pentagon being the military establishment, and as well as that as their think tanks and their strategic thinkers who are there all the time. They're in the Senate, they're in the House of Representatives, they're there all the time. They are not people who come in for 4 years and 4 years and then vanish. These are merely puppets. Is that correct, Lakhi? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen whether it's Joe Biden or not. America is going to sneeze and you will be a hardened green piece of bogey.
Yeah, I think definitely there'll be a nosebleed in England or in the United Kingdom. So yeah, I think it's inevitable that even
Can we
if Biden
say
does get
happy
voted in.
days? Can we use the terminology? Is it happy days or is it going to be different?
I think happy days is probably the right term if we want to be quite jolly about a depression.
Okay.
But I think more reality is going to be tighten your belt type days, buddy.
Okay.
Tighten your belt, buddy.
Okay.
You know, like hold on to your seats, buddy. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. So obviously you've got that.
What do you reckon? Good American accent.
No, I thought that was sounded more like.
Hold on to your turban, buddy.
Sounded more like a Scottish Gaelic type of mix with Indian. But anyhow, we'll take that as being a good version of the American accent. What state were you in then, Lakhi Singh? Where's that from?
That's New York, of course. What you tell?
Okay. Is that New York, is it? Right, okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, you get it now?
I can't connect to a mic or a cam. I think we're getting the first wave of effect on technology as Donald Trump edges towards taking control of the country. So Sonny is probably being affected by the election of Donald Trump. So she can't get a mic fixed and she can't be added into the call. But we do invite everyone to add themselves to the call. And obviously we would want people to participate and ask questions directly. Don't be shy. Tomorrow, we've got Mandy Sandhu coming on again. She asked a question the other day, but she's actually coming on tomorrow for the hour to talk about various topics. And obviously, this will be the day after election, so we're going to have a bit of a post-election party celebrating Mr. X, whoever he be, as the ongoing or the new president. Okay, so what do you say at the moment in regards to making moves, Lakhi Singh, being it that you're a hustler? When do you actually take naps? And when you take those naps in your daily routine, what is it you're taking a nap for? Are you merely putting all the money ching into your money machine and counting it, flick through? Or is it you're doing other administrative work like cleaning your nose?
I don't have naps during the day, so I'm full on from about 7:30 in the morning till about 9 every evening.
So you're a bit more like a lion, like they say, a shiru, like Lakhi Singh is king type of a person. You go around in the daytime looking for the food, and then after you've eaten the food, you have a proper sleep in the evening. You don't take naps in the daytime, just in case you get mauled by a pack of hyenas. Zubair says, ha, he. It's got a lucky, it's got one of those smiley faces being sent through. I assume he's laughing at Donald Trump becoming the new re-elected president. Anyhow, okay, so yeah, so tell us, what do you do then when you make moves in the daytime? Are you normally in the accounts office? Are you doing your because I know you're a stickler for accounts. Say it's
I
like
just love doing accounts. I just when I get into the office, I just want to look at the numbers, you know that, because
yeah. So it's like
that's
you're
what
saying
really about business. That's what really turns me on, you know that.
right. So you're saying accounts is like the stomach of business. If you don't know what's going in, you don't know what's coming out.
But
Is that
if I
right?
don't discuss the accounts first thing in the morning, then I don't end up, feeling like I've had my breakfast. It's a bit like that.
Okay.
So
And
I really have to, if I don't have my breakfast in the morning, then I become like a grumpy bear. It's a bit like that.
okay. Okay.
So I think I don't think you should. I'm not sure that it's even a question. I think you need to ask because you should know me by now anyway, VJ Sal.
Yeah. I know.
How many weeks has it been you interviewing me now?
We've been interviewing for
You still don't
about
know these facts yet.
three
Come on,
months. Every month, like
better
clockwork.
get your brain in gear, mate.
Yeah, I think we've hit the kryptonite of Mr. the Fixer Singh. Obviously, you're having a fit now, a surge of energy, putting up the defense shield of Super Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, just in case you get hit by an accounts bullet. I like that. Anyhow, we move on. We've got, the general situation is, for good or bad, do you see the rise of disunity in the UK? Like for a social stand, is Donald Trump seems to manifest a lot of discord between cultures and societies and religions and all that. He uses divide and rule to a great degree. Do you think that's being effective in the United Kingdom as well? Is that being transmitted over in the UK as well, or is UK a bit more a cosmopolitan country, a bit more integrated?
I think definitely the United Kingdom has got a lot better feel about it. But I think my concern is that we are becoming a bit of more of a bunker type mentality where even the government recently they're refusing to offer free meals to children at school because of what's going on. So I think when there's desperation in a person, they become dangerous.
All right.
And my belief is that because the economy is in a desperate state and the whole system is in a desperate state because of COVID-19, the health system, then life in itself becomes more dangerous because there's a lot more unpredictability, lots of unknowns. So even the government is likely to do things based upon being reactive rather than being proactive. So
do you think the environment now is being built up for something major? You say a desperate, like a desperate economy or a desperate situation leads to a dangerous situation, if I'm not wrong, if that's what you're saying. So do you think something dangerous is going to happen? We were talking about it the other day, historical cycles. We were talking about that gentleman, what was his name, who predicted quite accurately that 2020 would be
Martin Armstrong,
Mr. Armstrong
from Princeton Consulting Group.
Excellent. Right. So I think, is there going to be something majorly happening with this desperate environment? Are we looking at another major catastrophe or war? Or is it going to be the fact that he's right and we're going to have interest rates go up all of a sudden? What's going to happen? What's your prediction, sir?
So yeah, definitely interest rates will go up. That's what Martin Armstrong predicted, and I'm going to go along with him. Definitely this Brexit situation is going to become quite unmanageable. And definitely, I think we're in a property crash at the moment. But the way the media is presenting it and the way that the government's presenting it, it's not. People can't easily see what's going on. But I think anybody that's in the business and runs a large corporation, they can see the writing on the wall. So can you imagine having to run a business and making that successful, as well as actually having a lockdown where your hands are tied, so you can't really deploy your resources to their best effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've also got to counter all of that, you've also got a recession. To counter all of that, you also got Brexit. Now, what does that mean? So the writing's on the wall. I don't even need to spell it out, to be honest. Spelling it out actually is almost to call it telling people what they should be able to read themselves. So I don't think I'm there to do that.
People generally either optimistic or they've got their head in the sand. I mean, isn't that the way that people react, though, to the news that you're portraying? Are people that deep thinking? Can people absorb the loss of years of hard work that they've put into their businesses or to their property portfolios, and where every which way and lose is the situation, but not lose, but is lose in terms of no facilities, no revenue, no business, having to change the total style of business? I mean, isn't it now becoming a bit like a Bucks, what's his name, Buck Rogers, the 25th century type of this, changing from the good old pizza delivery boy to little wheelie bins dropping off your pizzas? So isn't it now, are we not sort of like slowly seeing the rise of technology and AI? Isn't this a major junction of world history happening here? A bit like the Industrial Revolution, when they discovered, oil and gas and coal and realized steel was a product to work with, etc., etc. Is this not the same situation where now all of a sudden we're rapidly fast growing? I mean, your handheld device, I mean, not even less than 8 years ago, Androids were sort of like far and few between. They were like, you had the Apples of the world, but you didn't really think every phone was going to be an Android. Now everything is like, it's totally different to what it used to be. I can't imagine using a standard button mobile phone anymore. It's not going to be, doesn't make sense. I tried using one, I think, a few months ago, and it was very tedious and very difficult for me to try and text someone with one of these old Nokias. So is that now not where we're at? And it's going to be about people thinking on their feet and looking towards a new style of doing, maybe, like fast food, selling pills that you spray a bit of water on, and then you get a full meal come out on your table. Isn't that what it's all going to be about? Or taking a few tablets instead of, digging in on a chicken wing or something?
Yeah, I think technology is definitely the way forward in terms of where there's a opportunity to make good income. So anything that you can do that's tech orientated and solves a problem is definitely going to have a massive impact on the potentials of making a new income stream.
running businesses in this environment with the age gap and everything else, they're basically being forced, just like old people have been forced to try and go online, and they can't go online. They've been issued checkbooks, and those checkbooks are now being phased out. The whole thing's going to change. So we're now at the end of today's session anyway. Carolyn Williams gives you a big congratulations on your 1,000th member, Lakhi Singh. Thank you very
Caroline, for all your help.
much. And hopefully we will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. when we will be listening to the excellent and the very wise Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, the alternative business property solution community tomorrow morning. And we will say month end and accounts, Lakhi Singh. Month end and